The gentleman from Arlington, Mr. Hope.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for the point of personal privilege.
Gentleman may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, those of you that have gotten to know me over the last couple of years, being my first term, you know that I'm very interested in working on policies that will slow the growth of our Medicaid program. But, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I'm very concerned that we have, in just a couple of policies that we passed in the budget on Thursday, that we will have the opposite effect of slowing the growth of Medicaid. Let me just take a second to talk about one of the policies that I raised an objection to Thursday when we debated the bill on respite care. The budget would call for a 40-hour-a-week cap on personal care hours for people with disabilities who are living at home. It will not restore a 5% reimbursement cut scheduled for home and community care providers, the people who actually work inside the home to keep people out of institutional care. And for those of you that have paid attention to the Department of Justice that has been doing its findings on the Commonwealth and how we're treating people with disabilities, they came out with their findings Thursday night while we were debating the budget, and it came to light on Friday, some of the things that they uncovered. And one of the findings in the Virginia system of caring for people with disabilities is it violates their civil rights under the Americans with Disabilities Act and incurs unnecessary expense on the Commonwealth. The specific summary of findings, and I'll read it to you, that came out related to respite care, it says the Commonwealth also places individuals currently in the community at risk of unnecessary institutionalization in violations of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Systematic failures causing this violation include the Commonwealth's failure to ensure a sufficient quantity of services, including crisis and respite care services, to prevent the admission of individuals in the community to training centers when they experience crisis. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, this cap that we put in, this cap will threaten the ability of many older adults and seniors and people with disabilities to live in their home, and it costs the Commonwealth more money if we let this cap go through. The second policy that I have great concern about related to the Medicare budget is our cut to Medicaid providers. Those are physicians, hospitals, and nursing homes. A failure for this legislature to act, those providers are facing a 4% cut. Last year they were getting 72 cents on the dollar. This year, starting July the 1st, they'll be getting paid 60 cents on the dollar. Now this will hurt access to care. When we look at physicians will either stop taking new Medicaid patients or they will stop seeing Medicaid patients altogether, Mr. Speaker. Hospitals will also see access problems, and we've seen this since 2003. We've probably seen 13 or 14 hospitals, mostly in rural areas, who have closed their obstetrical units just so they can keep the doors open to the rest of their hospital. And don't think that that won't happen again if we let this cut go through. We're also being told by industry that this will harm our economy. We risk losing 3,000 jobs, good-paying jobs, in the medical field if we let this cut go through. So, Mr. Speaker, not restoring the 4% reimbursement cut is ultimately self-defeating because it will result in more intensive and high-costly care later in the fiscal year. Now, let me just say, I heard a theme when we all presented the budget, as more than one person, that the budget that we passed on Thursday is structurally sound. That was a theme that I heard over and over. It's a phrase I wrote down. And maybe that's true when we look at it in the context of it balancing our books. But I think if you look at certain pieces of the budget, Mr. Speaker, related to K through 12, no one can say that pulling out $100 million in cuts in K through 12 is structurally sound. I believe it will hurt Virginia's businesses to build the industries and jobs of the future. Our Virginia retirement system, our VRS, that's certainly not structurally sound inside this budget. And transportation, borrowing billions of dollars today that our kids and our grandkids will have to pay for tomorrow is not what I would consider structurally sound. And if you take a look at our Medicaid budget, Mr. Speaker, it's grown 1,600% over the last 27 years. And the policies that we put in place through this budget will accelerate that unsustainable course, and it is not structurally sound. And according to the Department of Justice, it violates the civil rights of people with disabilities. Now, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I want to give credit where credit's due. the budget does have some good things that I favor strongly in our Medicaid program. It puts a tremendous number of waivers online. I want to give a lot of credit to the gentleman from Colonial Heights. I know he's felt very passionate about that, as if I have, and he should be commended for sticking with that commitment. But our budget policy should reflect the slowing the growth of our Medicaid program. Per the findings of the Department of Justice, ensuring that adequate services and reimbursement in our community and adequate reimbursement for our providers, the healthcare providers in the community, I'm reminded of the basic principle in medicine that I think that we should all adhere to, and that is first, do no harm, Mr. Speaker. I'm afraid this budget falls short of that principle. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.